Hey there! If you don't know what game is this, Super Mario Construct is a HTML5 fan game graphically styled after Super Mario World, and it has, you guessed it, a level editor featuring tons of customization and various styles, objects, enemies, power-ups of different 2D and 3D Mario games. The link for the game will be available down in the description of this video. Today, I will list 11 don'ts in the game, addressing each and every one of them as clearly as possible. With that said, let's dive into number 1. We begin with the absolute worst of all, the gravest sin you can ever commit in your life. It will murder every newborn baby
each time you make one of them, and will curse every damn kid you eventually have.
Okay, I'm getting way too carried away. But on an actual serious note, it's a level making and level design mistake that makes your level not only unappealing to look at, but also potentially expose floor glitches or unintentional paths that are bound to impact the player's experience negatively. Say like a hidden endless pit, or a shortcut that allows you to get past a challenge. That of course depends on each case. Some cutoffs can be minor. For example, a minor visual cutoff doesn't affect gameplay at all. It's still capable of angering some people, who make this don't look like the worst thing you can include in your level, which is actually not true. My advice for this is basically following the editor closely, like following how each tileset looks in the editor, and you're basically good to go. Moving on. If done carelessly, layering will become another enemy ready to confuse the player and make them not enjoy your level as much as you expect. It can also make your level look really ugly and really unappealing. For example, if an enemy and a piece of scenery aren't properly placed in the right layers, it can result in the enemies actually moving around, hidden by the scenery unintentionally, which can eventually lead to a death. Other bad layering practices is placing question blocks and having scenery right above them in the same layer, which will cause the coin or power-up to tuck behind the scenery, and piranha plants having their whole body exposed in front of a pipe. Just ugh. To fix this, there's a rule of thumb that I usually apply whenever I make levels that goes like this. Layer 1 is for tiling, enemies and objects, coins, platforms, etc. And layer 2 is for scenery. At least that's how I do it, but trust me, this will make your layering workflow a whole lot smoother, and you're guaranteed to know which layer corresponds to every element in your level. Ah yes, I will sure enjoy talking about this one. Of course, having no scenery in your level at all will make it look bland, basic, and rather lifeless, no matter how good your challenges and gameplay are. But adding ginormous chunks of scenery and cluttering everything in a mushy mess isn't a good practice either. I mean, what if you are using a custom background for your level, and then you decide to splatter it with every piece of scenery of every tileset that you can think of? Then what's the point in having a custom background? Not only that, but it can also get to a point when you mix everything together that it's going to become too hard for the player to tell which areas that they can stand on and which parts they can fall through. And that becomes a serious design flaw. The key here is balance. You want to leave things looking natural, balanced, and evened out. But if you're just starting out, try to just include scenery from the same tileset that you are using for your levels. And then when you start feeling more comfortable enough, try to add something for other tilesets, but don't forget to keep everything balanced throughout the whole level. This is, without a doubt, the most common mistake I see people doing in levels. Solely having no-brainer challenges, like just dodging and stomping on enemies, is not good. Neither is repeating the same enemy placement pattern and the same enemy types. But you also don't want to use too many enemy types in the same level. And to be fair, this is definitely the most difficult aspect to improve, as you will be wanting to try new and fun gameplay ideas. My best advice here is to play other people's levels really, be them good or bad levels. That will help you realize what won't work and what can work in your levels, and then adapt those ideas that you like the most and shaping them to something that has your trademark, per se. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah. Adding challenges like making the player look for a certain item to get through a certain section is always a nice way to start improving. So is adding a small on and off switch section. Those are a lot of fun to make and will definitely spice up your gameplay. Flat design is when your level styling looks plain and flat throughout its entire length. It becomes very hard to leave a lasting impression to someone who's playing a level from you for the first time, especially in caves, which are known for having rougher terrain than say overworld levels. The trick here is to vary the terrain itself by adding diverse slopes and higher and lower platforms. Adding a roof makes the level more challenging because it limits Mario's movement, though not every section needs to have one. Again, the key here is balance. For indoor levels at least, you don't want to have too little or too much roof. This is another common mistake that's seen in first levels. People are tempted to place every enemy in the game, and to make matters worse, overload them. This not only hinders the playing experience by a landslide, but can also cause heavy lag, or worst case scenario, crash the game. Believe me, it's the last thing that anyone wants when playing your level. Another bad practice in this topic is stacking the wrong enemies. As of now, only Goombas and Goombrats are stackable in Super Mario Construct. This one is a given. Don't overload enemies. Simple. Moving on. This is perhaps the biggest don't you can ever commit in your level. Fairness is extremely decisive in determining whether someone likes your level or not. Unfairness here can range between situations like blind jumps, unexpected enemies, unnecessary super precise jumps, death warps, and soft blocks, which force the player to restart a level, which is never a good sign. Reset warps exist for a reason. It's an actual feature included in the door pipe warp system. Most of the other problems that I mentioned in this topic can be fixed or prevented with indicators, like coins and arrows. The arrows are actually very customizable, giving you no excuse to not use them if you have a blind jump or a very precise setup. I would also really like to go a bit deeper on unexpected enemies, as I've seen quite a lot of people placing several enemies coming at you the moment you start playing the level, which always catch you off guard. Please, never do that! Always give the player resting areas as a reward for getting past your challenges. 2 or 3 of these per map is enough, especially one resting area at the start and another one at a checkpoint. My last advice here is to playtest your level a lot of times before sharing it to the world, and see what can be unfair to people who are playing your level for the first time. Oh boy! The best don'ts that I mentioned previously can also apply to other Mario level editors, heck, any level editor game in general, but this problem might be the only one exclusive to Super Mario Construct. You see, you can customize bosses, Boom Boom and SMB1 Bowser as of now, in this game. The problem is, people just get blinded by the amount of options of customization, especially with Boom Boom and his hit points. You can actually make him have only 1 or 2 hit points for those mid-level challenges. Oh, but people have already made him have absolutely ridiculous amount of hit points, from 10 points to 20. I'm not kidding. Having 3 or 5 hit points on Boom Boom is fine, I understand. More than 5 is already pushing it. It comes to a point as the player keeps on hitting Boom Boom, they can eventually lose focus and becoming more error prone in stumping Boom Boom at the right timing. Worst case scenario, dying in when there's 1 or 2 life points left away from victory. For the love of God, if you want to provide them more intense and epic battle, that's Bowser's job. He has much more unique traits than Boom Boom. Yes, I'm speaking from personal experience, by the way. Power-up quantity can also affect the player's experience with the level. There can't be too few or too many power-ups. Too few of them will likely make your level too unforgiving, depending on the difficulty, of course. But you also shouldn't be too generous with the power-ups, as I've seen in a lot of burst levels. Doing this takes away almost all of the challenge from the level, resulting in not confirming the potential your level could have had. I learned this one the hard way, let me tell you. The lesson here is to, yet again, balance out the amount of power-ups in your level. 2 or 3 per map is fine. Oh yes, this don't should be taken into consideration a lot more often. Sure, it's nice to have some ambition when building a level, but really, making it too long or have an overly extensive amount of maps will just drain you mentally and force yourself to come up with ideas, due to the huge pressure you will start to feel. And believe me, almost no one wants to play a level which average playtime is over 10 minutes, as it will begin to feel like a chore. That just takes away the whole point of making levels. It suddenly stops being what it's actually supposed to be. It stops being fun. Level making is supposed to be fun. Now, of course, you shouldn't make overly short levels. By this, I mean levels that you can beat in less than a minute. But making overly huge levels will be a pain to not only outplace them, but also strain yourself. And that's right the first thing you want to avoid. Life itself already does that to us. Now, it's perfectly fine to love some of Nintendo's finest 2D levels to date, and to recreate them, as long as you add a twist to it, and that can make it somehow even more enjoyable to play. Just copying, say, Super Mario Bros. 1-1 level just shows lack of originality. People will want to play something that you have created, something that you envisioned. Unfortunately, just too many people went on and straight out copied Super Mario Bros. 1-1 thousands and thousands of times, and you don't want to be another one on the list. Bottom down, it's fine to remake Nintendo levels if you want to add something different that falls within your style. So yeah, this one should be pretty obvious, but it's perfectly possible when you somehow forget to add an object that allows the player to finish your level, be it a flagpole, a gold orb, whatever. And being impossible can also result to the intense difficulty that you have added to your level, or your level requires a certain glitch to bypass. And if you're going to make use of a glitch, at the very least, say so in the level description. Otherwise, people just won't realize what to do. And yeah, no level goal will result in a soft lock, which is already a big no-no in level design. Do I even need to say something? Ugh, fine.
Make sure that your level is actually possible to beat.
And that's pretty much everything not to do when making a level in Super Mario Construct. I am aware there are other things to concern about, like unused space. Thing is, that one is a situational topic, as you can have enough content to keep the player engaged, but still have some tiles that are empty on a map. It's not really a big deal, if that's the case. It just becomes a problem when you have a very short level that only has like a third of the map used. Other things that I thought of is music volume, but that only becomes a concern if you're using custom music. If your custom music is too quiet, use an audio editing software like Audacity or an online MP3 amplifier to turn up the volume. I will link a site that does that in the description. If it's too loud, Super Mario Construct has the option to decrease 5 or 10 decibels off of your music. And that's pretty much it for this video. I know I kinda dragged on a little bit here, but I hope I helped you with all these tips and advices that I've learned throughout the years of level making that will sure become useful if you really want to start making levels in Super Mario Construct. Thanks for watching.